Yahoo! Welcome, my beautiful brothers and sisters, to the Aquarian Adepts, my platform, our platform, to become your spiritual server. And welcome to your weekly astrological report for today, Monday, October the 1st, through Sunday, October the 7th of 2018. Thank you so much for joining me on this video. When was the last time you made a weekly? I feel like it's been a while, and I've been really wanting to get back into these. I think is that, for me, I want to try and, I like to really go deep into the astrology. I like to really uncover a lot of things and, flesh it out and make this, bring it to you in this beautiful package that's like a story, because I really feel like astrology is like this beautiful story that's unraveling. But I want to try and shorten them just to see if I can actually get them under a certain time period. But you know me, it's like when I get really into it, I get really passionate, I can talk for hours. And honestly, I can talk for hours and hours and hours about this astrology. But this week is going to be kind of this week of what I feel is final provisions. Because I feel like we're at like the end of one story, but then like the beginning of another story. So it's kind of like, this is kind of like a week where it's like a tale of two stories. It's like we're finishing up one chapter, but then we're beginning another chapter. And really, this entire month of October can kind of be seen as this bridge point, where it's like we spend most of the year clearing, and then we spent like the last month or so really kind of cleaning up as far as like, what we intend to do and the way that we manifest, and, also, really, we had to go through like this recent course, this full moon in Aries that we just had. We each got a like major serious ego check, and now we're having to like really figure out, who am I? What am I doing here? What is my purpose, right? So this is sort of like this week where it's like, okay, this is kind of like this last hurrah, these final provisions before we begin to really step into this new reality, this new day-to-day reality, this new era, this new world. It's the dawn of a new age. It's very beautiful, and this is going to prove to be a rather powerful, shifting week. Really, like I said, all of October is. So, just to really show you quickly as far as the week at a glance, this is what we have at a glance as far as the weekly transits go. And we can see here that the moon is going to be in the sign of Gemini starting off this week. It's going to be in the second decan of Gemini, and it's going to shift into Cancer, into Leo, and into Virgo by week's end. So we're going to get these four energies. So emotionally, you definitely want to look at these areas within your chart to see how you are going to be experiencing this week from a soul level, what themes you can expect to find. You want to look at where these four signs land in your chart. The other major transits that we do have this week is the fact that we do have the planet Saturn making the quincunx over to the North Node. Now, this has been going on for a while, but this is the week where it finally apexes at 3 degrees. We have the Mars-Venus square, which is going to continue to strengthen throughout the entire week. And actually, it won't come exact until next week, but this week we're going to start to feel it. We're going to feel it build up more and more and more. And I'm going to talk about these transits a little bit more later as I go day to day. We also have arguably the most powerful transit of the week, and one that we have all been anticipating, is this Venus in Scorpio going retrograde. It's already at 10 degrees at the time of me making this video, and later this week it will finally go retrograde. The other point that I want to make is the fact that this is actually the last week where Mars and Jupiter are in their shadow period. So that's really important too. And I noticed that this was the last week because I wrote these down and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Mars and Jupiter pretty much come out of shadow at the same time. And I think that's really quite interesting that this is happening pretty much right around this Venus going retrograde. Those are the weekly things at a glance. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to read to you all kind of just this channeled message that kind of came through and how I feel like this might relate to this week. Now, letting you know, this is of course a general reading, so don't force all aspects of this reading and all aspects of this video, of this message to resonate with you. If it doesn't, take what works with you and leave what doesn't. But, my purpose here is to really encourage you to show you the astrology so you may, of course, make your own decisions and move forward in your own way. But as I've said, I feel like astrology is this great portal to understanding ourselves, to understanding ourselves and the world around us. A very powerful tool indeed. But this is what I wrote down here, okay? Final provisions, last-minute arguments, pleads, compromises, filled with excitement, yet simultaneously a dread of anticipation hangs over one's head, yet not one's heart. We have all been in the rain for quite some time. As it appears, our seeds have been inundated with great tides. That's why we feel so buried, because it had to be done this way. Otherwise, we would have been completely swept away and uprooted from our personal truth. The question is, however, how does that personal truth correlate to the universal truth? To the whole truth, the universal truth. What sort of harvest do we hope to reap by planting our truth? Will it be that of poverty consciousness or that of abundance consciousness? Will we have peace with ourselves and have compassion for where we perceive we come up short? Now is the time to be you. Only you know what that is. And that's just kind of the energies that I do feel. I feel like a lot of us have been feeling buried. All of us in some way have been feeling buried by all of this cosmic energy. There's been so much pressure. And this pressure is what's going to create diamonds. They say pressure creates diamonds. And there's that whole saying that you've seen kind of thrown around the internet now. Is like they buried us, but they didn't realize we were seeds. So it's like a lot of times we can feel very much so buried, and we want to try and compromise. We want to try and plead for some type of forgiveness. We want to plead for some type of connection. We want to plead for some type of breakthrough. We're wanting, pulling, wishing, yearning. And I'm sure all of you can feel this. And it feels like we might be receiving scraps from the universe almost. It almost might be feeling like we're only being fed just a little bit at a time, But really, we're on the precipice of a gigantic expansion, which is why it's coming in so perceivably slow right now. Because if we were to get all this information at once, we will just be completely just overloaded with information, more so than we already are. People would just start short-circuiting and all kinds of crazy stuff. So it has to be a nice transition. So this week is going to be a very powerful, albeit nice transition. Almost kind of a quiet transition, because there's not a lot of exact aspects happening this week. It's mostly the moon making aspects with a couple of major aspects, at least apexing, sprinkled in there, and of course the Venus Retrograde. So let's just go day by day. I wrote down notes for this, of course. So we're going to go day by day to tell you what exactly is going to be happening. And I'm going to actually be flashing up the charts here too. So this first chart I ran for around 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this is going to be for Monday. And today, as you can see, not really much is happening. We have the moon, which is going to be squaring off to Chiron at 29 degrees. It shifts into Cancer and makes sextiles to Uranus retrograde and opposes Saturn. Now, I already made my daily video about this, but the main thing about this day is the fact that with this moon squaring over to Chiron, this is the first time that we are actually receiving this square. The moon, which will have been in Gemini for the first part of the day, or at least the morning, is really having us focus on our mind and our communicating with other people. And sometimes our mind can really trigger certain feelings within us. So when it makes this square over to Chiron, like I said, being at the edge of Pisces, this is the sense of ultimate liberation, but also ultimate imprisonment, where we feel like we can do it all, but then we feel like we don't have anything. It's this extreme. It's this extreme of like, oh my gosh, I can do it all, I can feel it all, I feel so great, I feel so abundant. But then it's also the flip second can happen to where you just feel completely lost. You feel completely in the dark. You feel completely hopeless. And it's interesting because the moon's going to kind of get a breather when it moves into Cancer. Now, in fact, at the beginning of this reading or this recording, the moon is in Cancer, and the moon likes to be in Cancer. So you're probably going to feel a little bit more uppity the first part of the day on Monday, but come the evening, it's going to kind of mellow out. But you're still going to be emotionally charged. The good thing about this is that the moon does sextile over to Uranus retrograde in Taurus. Now, while Uranus might also stimulate the mind in many ways, so we're still getting this mental stimulation, it is an earthy Taurus, and Taurus is arguably the heaviest element. So this is about finding new ways to ground ourselves. This is about finding new ways to ground our security, our sense of compassion, and really just kind of, it'll be like the second half of the day will be great to just sort of like relax. If you can like take a nap sometime in the middle of the day, I definitely encourage it. Or definitely, especially when you come home from work, today's not going to be the kind of day where you really want to do much. You're going to want to just kind of sit down and relax, especially because the moon's going to be opposing Saturn, which is going to put a little bit more of that pressure on us. And we're still going to be, of course, thinking about how can we move forward, looking towards the future. But what's being called up is more of the sense of nurturing ourselves, nurturing our bodies. This is what I said in my daily, and also allowing us to kind of relax. This is kind of like a day of radical relaxation, because we're going to be so stimulated, whether or not we can actually put the right pieces together and act accordingly. It's really going to be dependent upon how you react to all this. And I can even feel today, it's like today's been a day where I have been mentally checking myself a lot. And it hasn't even been bad. It's been like, oh, I've had such a mental clarity today, and this mental awareness of times where I would react to certain ways, or in moments where I could have been hurt. But it's like you do it to yourself sometimes, and it's weird to say that you do it to yourself, or you attract this to yourself. But we do agree to all the terms and conditions before we incarnate. We're just walking amnesiacs, really. But today is Monday anyway. It's going to be this day where it's like I said, the first part of the day is going to be a little bit uppity, a little bit jumpy, a little bit on edge. Then it kind of mellows out, and then it kind of picks up again. But it's almost like you may freak out the first part of the day, but by the end of the day, you're going to realize that there was no really big reason to freak out, and you can actually better prepare yourself for the rest of the week. On Tuesday the 2nd, we do have the moon making a lot of the transits today. I ran this one for noon on Tuesday. And the major thing that's happening on this day, as you can see, is that we do have Mercury, which is going to be coming into its square with Pluto, and this is going to be at 18 degrees. Not only that, but we do have a grand water trine today as well. So this is going to be an interesting energy as well, with the moon being in Cancer, making these aspects to Neptune as well as Venus. So as soon as the moon hits about 10 degrees of Venus, this trine will begin to activate. And it'll pretty much last this way up until it finishes trining over to Neptune. And this is interesting because this is right before Venus is going to go retrograde. But this is the spot. So trines represent this gift. I like to think of trines as, I really like to think of trines as a gift that comes after the sextile, after you have the sex, after you create the friction, new life is birthed. So that's what the trine is, new life, miracles. So we're going to get like this rebirth of our emotions. But the interesting thing is that Neptune is retrograde, of course, so we may not necessarily get the big picture like Spirit does or like God does. And Venus is going to be, it's technically in shadow because this is the degree that it's retrograding on top of. So it's going to be sort of like a weird gift that we get. It's going to be sort of like, it's like we're going to get like this new card that God or the universe is giving to us in our hand, and it's really going to be this gift of feeling into our psychic abilities and feeling into the energies around us, and also activating our healing potential more. But it's going to come at this cost of us not really understanding why and what exactly are the abilities of this card that we're given. Like, we're not going to quite get it. That's why we have Mercury squaring over to Pluto. Mercury, which is in Libra, is trying to understand things, trying to, figure out some type of compromise, trying to find some sort of peace and balance and harmony, but then making the square over to Pluto. Pluto, of course, is now direct at this point. So it's like we really have to be willing to make the hard decisions to change our structure if it doesn't reflect the inner peace that we seek. And that can be very difficult because sometimes we will perpetuate peace that we think is peace, or this harmony that we think is harmony, because it's what so many people have told us we should be. But this is about acknowledging what is peace to us, what is harmony to us, what makes us feel emotionally satisfied, what makes us feel flowing. Because the great thing about Cancer is that it does allow for this great empathy, but also Cancer energy that's clammed up, that's shut off, is very, very resentful. So that's like the shadow side of Cancer, is that it can be a very resentful energy, but it can also be a very flowing energy and a very powerful energy, because if you think about it, it's cardinal water, so it's about directing that water. And while I don't necessarily agree with them, we can look at the human dams that we have built, like these hydroelectric dams, as kind of a testament to that, to how where we force water to go in a particular way, and it creates this power, it creates this energy. So it's like we can become resentful and like hold on to this water and not allow it to flow, or we can allow ourselves to kind of feel into things and to go with the flow, but direct that flow in a powerful, powerful way that not only heals us, but allows us to open up to other people on a deeper soul level. Tuesday is going to be, like I said, a super powerful day where we're receiving this gift from the universe, and it's going to be kind of packaged weird. Let's just say that. And we're going to have to learn how to communicate it now, because we're all going to like suddenly get like a new card in our hand, and it might be blank even. And we're going to be like, should I play this card like right now? That's really going to be up to you. So on Wednesday the 3rd, I ran this for 11 p.m. So this is towards the tail end of the day. And all these times that I have here are Eastern Standard Time. The main thing I really wanted to focus on is the fact that the moon will be coming into Leo, and it will also be conjuncting the North Node, obviously opposing the South Node. This is happening at 3 degrees. So today we also get this trine energy. We do have the moon, which is going to trine over to Jupiter, is going to trine over to Chiron. We're just kind of wrapping up the energies from the day before, because we're not necessarily going to know what to do with this miracle or what to do with this gift, but when it trines over to Jupiter, we're getting intel and information on how to expand and how to see the great fortune in this gift. And then when it makes the trine over to Chiron, this is like how to ultimately heal, and like really what is the purpose of this new card, this kind of final provision that we have been given by the universe. And then the moon shifts into Leo, which the moon in Leo is very passionate, it's very childlike, and it can be it's very much so like, you know, it's a kid on their birthday, because, you know, when a young kid, it's their birthday, they are the center of attention. They are the center of attention. They have the party, all their friends come over. A kid on their birthday is the sun and the moon in Leo in many ways. But it is the moon in Leo, where it's like you are in many ways the center of attention, right? So, especially if like you're a Leo, and the moon in Leo is like even double so. But for like the rest of us who don't have their sun in Leo, the moon in Leo is kind of like, it's like your birthday in many ways, you know? So it's going to be this sort of energy where you're going to be feeling really passionate. You're going to be feeling like, you know, you can go out and really do anything. And this conjuncting the North Node, it built up to this energy throughout the day. But it has to make, of course, some other aspects. Like I said, it does make the trine to Jupiter, which is in Scorpio. So it's like, it still might even feel a little bit difficult on how to expand on this, because we're having to expand through this dark space of Scorpio, which has to deal with fears. It has to deal with these deep fears that we have. Even though it's deep desires and these wants, it also has to deal with these fears. So it's like we're having to learn how to expand through our fears. We're having to learn how to expand through our healing and through our wounds. It's almost like, think of like a snake when it sheds its skin. It has to like break out of its skin to shed. And, you know, it's like any kind of wound that we have. It's like, even like when you're building muscle, right? When you're building muscle, the way that muscle builds is that it tears and then it restructures itself. So it's like, it can be painful, this shedding process, this growing process, but that's really what the moon has to come through. This is what our soul's going through, so that when it gets to Leo, it does feel this revitalization, because of course, you know, the moon in the Leo represents the sun, or the sun is the, you know, the planet of Leo. So there's definitely going to be this, our soul are really going to be reflecting light. It's going to be reflecting this this great exuberant light that the sun, that the Leo energy is going to be shining. So people's souls are going to be shining through when the moon shifts into Leo. And it does square over to Uranus. So this square is like this first challenge where it's like we have to learn how to, once again, innovate the way that we approach our values, to innovate the way that we approach our gratitude, our projects, and in many ways, of course, our relationships, because Uranus is here. This is, like I said, there's going to be this test where it's like we're going to kind of almost want to be, in many ways, the center of attention, but we're going to have to learn how to like get along with others. But then it comes to this conjunction with the North Node, and the whole day builds up to this. And whenever the moon comes around to the North Node, it's kind of like us getting getting some more intel on our divine story, our divine journey. It's like you're in a video game, and then suddenly, something appears on your screen, or something appears, and you have like this new mission, or you have like this update to your mission, or even like this update to your abilities, to your attributes. The moon, whenever it crosses the spot, it's like an update point to, okay, this is what we need to learn. This is what happened during this last 28, 29 days, this transition while the moon has been here. All right, now let's go from here. And then that's what happens. It gets updated every single time. On Thursday, this chart is ran from noon as well, and this, once again, the moon's just going to be finishing up in Leo. It's going to oppose Mars, square Venus, sextile the Sun, and then quincunx Neptune in that order. And Thursday really, it's kind of like this lax day in between. It's almost like the calm before the storm, because the next day is Venus retrograde, and the moon in Leo, even though it's excited, it is going to be going from this first decan of Leo to the second decan of Leo. And the first decan of Leo is the really super passionate, curious young child that's like really ready to go. Kind of has like a bit of a Sagittarius vibe to it almost. And it's like really, it's Simba in many ways. Like the first decan of Leo is Simba. It's like you have all these responsibilities to become king and stuff, but sometimes you may run away from them because you just want to play. But then it goes into the second half of Leo, which the second decan of Leo in many ways, it's like you're starting to learn more of your responsibilities. You're starting to learn more about how your actions actually create your reality. So we're going to be feeling this shift between sort of this playful, youthful Leo energy that our soul is going to be kind of emitting with, reflecting off Leo's energy, to going to more of this like, okay, I guess we can still technically make those same actions and those same decisions, but we're going to start to see more how it actually reflects out, how it actually creates our reality, how our actions actually do create our reality. It's going to be like, sort of like this like opening and this awareness to, oh wow, like I need to take responsibility for what I'm doing, right? I need to take responsibility for how I'm feeling too, because that's the huge thing, is like you're supposed to feel the wide range of emotions that you do. Like, don't get me wrong, you're supposed to feel all of those emotions. But sometimes what happens is that people don't take responsibility for managing their emotions. And by managing, I'm not saying to hold them in, keep them locked up so you don't, like, expose them. No, this is about clearing. This is about embracing your emotions, embracing who you are, but also letting it flow. Because otherwise what's going to happen is that someone who's not in flow is like holding on really tight. There's a lot of tension, but that does not mean that you're holding in all that energy. Oh hell no! Especially with the moon in Leo, you're going to be leaking out radiation left and right. You're going to be leaking out radiation left and right. You might create a lot of drama around you for no freaking reason. Release, let go, de-stress. Because otherwise you're just going to be leaking and oozing this energy, and entities are going to take note of it. People are going to take note of it. So Thursday might be this day where you may like run into some drama on this day, just because you may find yourself trying to hold on, or even kind of holding on to like the way you did things before, because it's like, the moon shifting into the second half of Leo, or the second decan of Leo, is a really growing up point. Whenever the moon goes from the first decan of Leo to the second decan of Leo, it's this really powerful growing period for our soul, for our soul's passion, and even for our spirit. It's like this great growing time where we have to kind of like, oh, it's like, all right, it's time to kind of grow up. You know, that playing like that was fun. Now I can still play, but I have to play in a way that is a little bit more responsible. That does not mean that you can't go wild with your play, because arguably the people that have gone the most wild with their play have created some of the most beautiful things in this world. But some of those people also have created some of the most tragic things in this world. And we have to really be aware of where our energy is and where our vibration is. So Thursday is going to be a very powerful day of, I would say it'd be a great day for meditation, a great day for affirmation. I would say even a great day for shadow work, because that quincunx over the Neptune is going to be like I said, it's the awkward stare from across the room. So that energy might, it'll be kind of an interesting energy, because meditating on this day, and like I said, as it comes, yeah, it's going to sextile the sun, and it's going to quincunx over the Neptune. So it's going to be this opportunity for us to kind of reintegrate perhaps something that we forgot, because I said earlier how we are kind of like walking amnesiacs. So it's like when the moon goes into Leo quincunxes Neptune energy, it's like, even though it may feel a little awkward, it's kind of like that moment for you to really connect the spirit into God. And even though you might not necessarily get it, you'll probably reach or receive some sort of great epiphany or some kind of really unique truth. It's probably going to be very personalized to you. So, Friday is, of course, the major day. Why? Because the moon is going to shift into Virgo, and this is pretty much happening at the same time as the Venus Retrograde. And the other cool thing about this energy is the fact that this does actually activate a grand Earth trine between the moon, Uranus, and Saturn, which will last most of the evening into the early morning on Saturday. And I will be making a video more in depth about this Venus retrograde, because it's hard to just encapsulate it in this video when I'm talking about the weekly stuff. But let's talk about it. Venus represents, canonically, it's the planet of love. It represents in many ways our desires, our values, represents our relationships in many ways. And it's like, this is going, and since now it's in Scorpio, this is about these deeper waters, these deeper currents. We got to think Scorpio is a water element, but it's about these deeper currents, these deeper passions, these deeper desires, and this is about investing in them. This is about seeing where we may not be satisfied anymore in these areas, in these deeper areas, in these more occult areas, these areas that we keep secret. But this is interesting because since we're going into a retrograde period, we're going into a review moment. So we're reviewing how these currents have satiated us before, or whether or not we're even aware of these currents. Some people they don't want to dive into these depths. They don't want to know about these deep currents, but it's these deep currents that create such a vitality for ourselves. And there's a reason why the Scorpio energy exists. There's a reason why it's a zodiac sign, because in many ways I like to think of it as this, it's an infinity, it's an 8, right? So it's this infinity, it's this power, it's this ultimate abundance, where it's like this powerful generator of this water element, of this energy, of this deep psychic energy. It's really, first of all, we have been going through this energy and really working on it and clearing it for a while now. Saturn came through this spot, Jupiter came through here, is still going through, but we'll be leaving soon, and now Venus is here. And we won't get any major influences of this energy as far as clearing it out in a while. So this is like I said, this kind of like this final provision point where we really are going to be asking ourselves, what turns us on? Venus in Scorpio is what turns us on. Like, I just got so serious there. It was kind of funny. I was like, what turns you on? Like, that's what Venus and Scorpio is. And yes, it's going to come back into Libra. So it's not necessarily all about you, because Scorpio does rule the house of shared resources, but does have that Martian influence. So in many ways, we like to think of ourselves. This is why, like, when a Scorpio has a grudge against someone, they just can cut them off. Like, that's the thing. But it's also, since Venus will be coming back into Libra, we do have to, of course, include other people. This is still a moment of trying to find peace and harmony, not only within ourselves, but in our relationships with other people, and then eventually society, of course, as a whole. But it does have to start here. It does have to start with these deeper currents. We will definitely talk more about this Venus retrograde in a later video, probably a live video or something like that. On Saturday, I ran this chart for 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The moon, which should be in Virgo, will be, let's see if I wrote this. Okay, I see what I did here. The moon, which will be in Virgo, is going to trine over to Saturn. It's going to trine it's going to quincunx the south node, excuse me. But the main thing I want to talk about, of course, is when it opposes Neptune retrograde at 14 degrees. Anytime you get a planet that opposes Neptune, it's this moment of great imagination, great epiphanies, but also great delusions, great illusions. And since the moon's going to be a Virgo, and now that we don't have this Virgo energy anymore, as far as, like, a major planet being there, we still have the energy, but there's not a planet to focus the energy. Now that the moon is here, and the moon has been through quite some interesting transits this week and making these hard aspects to these other planets, but also some very positive ones, some very beneficial ones, of course. But then it opposes Neptune. And it's going to be sort of like, what was all that about? Like, the moon, it's going to be like we're waking up from a dream, but stepping into another dream. It's almost like, this could even be that moment where we're just like, we're going from one story to the other, because then Venus retrogrades, and then it's like the next chapter. And it's like a cliffhanger. So this moon opposed Neptune is going to be us, like, looking at our, like, trying to fill into our day-to-day reality, trying to fill into how we can keep some sense of order, some sense of details. Virgo is very much so about fine-tuning things, but it's going to be like, this opposing the Neptune, it's going to be like, it's almost going to be like we have our puzzle piece, and we're trying to figure out the whole puzzle, but it's like we're trying to figure it out in such a way that is like we're trying to have too much control over it, It's like, and we just need to focus on our piece. And the funny thing about our piece is that it is also a puzzle in and of itself. It's like our piece is a part of a puzzle, but our puzzle piece is a puzzle itself, and there are multiple pieces within that. That's how you become whole. That's how you begin to put your day-to-day reality together. That's how you begin to manifest your true self and your true abundance and your higher self. It's by realizing that you are a piece of the puzzle, but that piece of the puzzle does carry the code for how this map is supposed to look like, or how whatever you want to call it, a map or a quilt or a blanket or whatever it is that's being woven here. It's like, it also is a puzzle piece. So focus on your individual pieces. Focus on your different puzzles. Focus on your details. And also kind of just let Spirit take care of the rest. This moon opposing Neptune is really this great opportunity for us to, like, our soul and emotionally, to meet the universe halfway, and then Wonder Twin Powers activate, You know what I'm saying? Then on Sunday, I ran this, of course, because I'm lame, 11:11 a.m., but I did that for a reason. And that's just because at the time that, I ran this 11:11, we do have, what is it? We have the sun quincunxing over to Neptune at 14 degrees, and this is also around the time that the Saturn quincunx the north node apex is around 3 degrees. And these are pretty much happening at the same time. So we have two quincunxing energies. This awkward shift from across the room. And even if you look at it, it kind of looks like a bit of a trapezoid. I don't know if you can see it in there, but it's kind of interesting. So I like to think of these quincunxes that come across this way, and they are also joined, I want to say it's by sextiles too. I don't have the chart right in front of me, But I like to think of it as almost like the Two of Swords. It's like these two swords. It's like this X. It's like, nope, you're not coming through. But I like to think of it that if you work with this energy, this quincunx energy, it opens up and you're going through the portal. It's like you're coming through the gates. So it's like, it's kind of like, you know how like they'll have like one knight here and another knight there, and they're like holding out their spear or their sword, and they're like barring entry, like you can't come through. That's kind of what these crossing quincunxes are. But then they open up and you're allowed entry. So how would you be allowed entry on this day? Well, Saturn quincunx to the North Node is an aspect that's happening all week. So fortunately, we have all week to kind of figure out really how to work with this energy. Now, what is Saturn? Saturn is the planet of hard work, decisions. I like to think of Saturn as this labyrinth, where it's like there's certainly a way, but it's not like a maze to where you can hit a bunch of dead ends. Now, labyrinths will give you the illusion of there being a bunch of dead ends. That's what makes it so difficult. But there is a way out, and there are no dead ends. So that's the weird thing about it. It's like, it's almost like the path is laid before us in many ways. So it's like, if we just realize that the path is laid before us, all we have to do is take the next step. All we have to do is take the next step. All we have to do is take the next step. And since this is in line with the North Node, which is still in Leo, this is about radically stepping into our heart. So fortunately, the moon would have been in Leo and conjunct the North Node before this happened. So we kind of get like this peek and this preview into how to really follow our heart, how to follow our heart's joy, and how to really live from that space. But it can be rather difficult, of course, because, you know, the North Node and the South Node are, you know, you have that energy there. So, and if you really want to take it a step further, the Saturn will technically be semi-sextiling the South Node. So it's like, semi-sextile is like this minor positive aspect. So it's like, there may even be this proclivity, I would say, to kind of side with the masses a bit, because we feel like that's really what's been laid before us. It's like, it's almost like you're in the woods and you see a path that's been paved, but then over here there's no path that's been paved, but that's where your heart's taking you towards. But since this is the way that people have gone, this is the way that's been paved, it's like there's a proclivity to go that way, probably out of comfort, probably out of some sort of security we want to give ourselves. But does it really give our soul security? Does it give our spirit security? That's what we're going to have to ask ourselves. So we're going to have to make the hard decisions and really, you know, make the hard cuts, make the hard turns, so we can go in the direction that our heart is taking us. And the other quincunx is the Sun quincunxing over to Neptune. The Sun is in Libra, Neptune, which is retrograde in Pisces. This is occurring at 14 degrees. And this is a powerful moment too, because this is talking about, you know, of course, we're wanting to find some type of compromise. We want to try to find some type of peace and harmony and communication, and directing this powerful communication with ourselves and to other people. But then we have this quincunx over to Neptune, so your beliefs from other people may be different. Your beliefs about, you know, what is peace, what is harmony, what is justice, what is just, that may be different between you and other people. So this can bring up some strife, this can bring up some drama, this can bring up some communication breakdowns, this can bring up some communication errors, this can bring up some strife. So we have to learn that really we're all in this together, and especially a lot of the traditions that we have for ourselves, a lot of the structure that we have for ourselves, they are illusions. They are these very elaborate illusions, and traditions and stuff and rules, we are meant to have them, but they are meant to be broken at some point or another. And we also have to realize that, like I said, we all are different aspects of this giant puzzle. We all have our own puzzle piece. So yeah, naturally, if there's one puzzle piece that's over here and there's one puzzle piece that's over there, it's going to be kind of hard for them to understand each other because they're not within each other's general vicinity. But they are connected to other pieces that will eventually bridge into that other piece. That's how you really acknowledge the underflowing current, the inner flowing current, the inner flowing energy that connects and binds all of us. So true peace and harmony can be had. We just have to be willing to kind of get out of our own way and to actually allow ourselves to see the divinity and the beauty in all that is around us. So in many ways, I would almost like to say that this day on Sunday is kind of definitely like us turning the page and we're going into the new world because, you know, by the end of the day, the moon will be shifting into Libra. So it's the whole week, really, I feel, is this, like I said, it's like this week of final provisions. Like we're given this new trump card by the universe and it's blank. And we're trying to figure out, okay, how do I use this card? How do I use this card to manifest? How do I use this card to channel in this higher vibration? How do I use this card so that it works for me, but also allows me to be of great service to other people, and in a way that doesn't complicate my joy, in a way that doesn't compromise the integrity of who I am. So, like I said, this is all coming off of this full moon that we had last week, and we're building, of course, up to the new moon in Libra. So, certainly a powerful week. I would just, like I said, I would recommend doing just any type of meditation, any type of affirmations. Affirmations, especially right now, are very important, will very much so help you through this energy. I don't think it's going to be a bad week at all. In fact, I feel like a lot of people, we've been like prepping so much for this Venus retrograde and almost like putting on a lot of armor that I think it's still going to rock our world. I think it's still going to rock our soul, but I think it's going to be quiet. I think the transition, this Venus retrograde, is going to be eerily quiet. And we're going to be like almost expecting an explosion, but it's not going to happen in the way. In fact, what's probably going to happen is something very beautiful is going to be placed into our life, or we're going to realize it, we're going to open our eyes and realize it, and we're going to like, oh, wow, okay, that's what this is all about. That's what's going on here. And it's going to be like, this moment's like whether you decide, are you going to go for that? Are you going to step up to the plate? Are you going to use that card that you've been given? Or are you just going to continue to play the same hand that you've been playing for the last 10 years? And we're moving into a new age, a new dawn of a new era. You know, we're breaking through in a powerful way. And the people that really go far during this time are those that are unapologetically themselves, but also recognize that they are one puzzle piece in this massive puzzle. And this world can seem puzzling, it can seem weird and crazy, but really it's beautiful, it's idiosyncratic, I don't even know if that's the right word. It feels right, it's amazing, it works, it flows. You just have to kind of find how you work with it. You have to find your quirk. Go watch My Hero Academia. Beautiful show, and I feel like even that would just go watch it. I feel like that's actually kind of like, that's kind of what I've been feeling as far as this week, is like we all have a quirk. And it's like, we have to embrace our quirk, no matter how weird, no matter how strange it may be, it works for us. That quirk works for us. That is it for your reading this week. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. I would really appreciate it, beloved. And if you'd like a personal reading with me, you can follow the link in the description below to theAquarianAdepts.com. I am extending my sale until the first week, throughout this whole week of October. So until October, I will say October the 10th. After October the 10th, I won't be running my sale anymore. But if you'd like to take advantage of that, the link is in the description below. And as always, my beautiful brothers and sisters, always remember to keep moving forward, to stay focused, and Yahoo! Smile often.